Okay, that's the meeting recording. So I'm now going to take the sedierant by roll call. John Anderson.
Here.
John Bradley.
Here.
Maureen Chalmers.
Here.
Jerry Convery.
Here.
Margaret Cooper.
Here.
Peter Craig.
Here.
Isabel Dorman.
Here.
Yep. Joe Fagan.
Here.
Graham Horn.
Here.
We have apologies from Martin Hose. Anne LeBlanc.
Here.
We have apologies from Monique McAdams, but Alan Falconer is substituting. Alan Falconer.
I'm here.
Ian McAllen.
Here.
Catherine McClymont.
Here.
Kenny McCreary.
Here.
Hugh MacDonald.
Here.
Mark McGeever.
Here.
Davy McLachlan.
Here.
Lynn Naylan.
Apologies, I'm substituting.
You're substituting. Okay. Also got apologies for Richard Nelson. John Ross. Nope. Graham Scott.
Yeah.
I've got apologies for Colette Stevenson, but we have Mark Horsham present to substitute.
Yeah.
Margaret Walker.
Here.
David Watson.
Sorry, here.
And Josh Wilson. I can see that Josh Wilson is present.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, okay. So officers present, we also have Lorraine O'Hagan, Louise Harvey, Pauline Elliott, Michael McGlynn, Gordon Mackay, and from Administration Services we have Susan Somerville, Pauline McRae, Nicola Docherty and Karen McLeod. We've also invited members of the press. Is there anyone else that I've missed out?
Elaine Maxwell.
Sorry, Elaine, apologies. I'll now
Mary Cairns, sorry, from Legal Services.
Thank you. I'll now pass you back to the chair for today's business. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any declarations of interest? Yep. Someone.
We have Councillor McClymont, Chair.
Yeah, Catherine.
Yeah, John, can I declare an interest at item 7? I'm a member. I pay a membership to CCI.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go on to the next item on the agenda. This is agenda item number 3. I'd like to invite Louise to speak to this item. Louise?
Chair, we still have to pass the minutes of the previous meeting.
Oh, sorry, I've missed that one. Yep. Okay, the minutes of the previous meeting. Any issues arising from the minutes of the previous meeting? No. Can we agree that this is an accurate record of the meeting? I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Agreed. Okay. Sorry about that, jumping the gun there. Now we can go on to item 3. Louise.
Okay, thank you, Chair. This is the standard revenue report up to period 12 of our financial year, which is the 26th of March, and is broadly in line with previous reported position for the core budget and a change to the reported COVID position for the most up-to-date information on expenditure. And this reduces the forecast position by around £1 million from the last committee report. Paragraph 5.1 has the main financial implications with a projected overspend of 8.169 million after approved transfers to reserves. The forecast cost of COVID for the resource for the year is 8.199 million, and this has been updated as we have moved through the year, as I've mentioned. This reflects expenditure for the resource of 4.701 million, covering staff costs, increased domestic waste tonnage, fleet costs, additional PPE and enhanced cleaning, as well as the approved contribution to South Lanarkshire Leisure and Culture. In addition, the resource is projecting a significant impact as a result of loss of income due to the pandemic of 4.811 million, as well as savings not achieved of 100,000 and an underspend in our budget of 1.413 million, in the main due to expenditure not incurred in relation to the food cost for school meals. The core budget has a minor underspend reflecting the activities of the resource across the year, and this includes underspends in employee costs offset by an overspend in the fleet service and the cost of waste contracts. Paragraph 5.4 outlines the position as at the 26th of February with an overspend of 7.066 million, again after our approved transfers to reserves, and the detailed variance explanations for each of the service areas are included in appendices B to F. A couple of budget variants this time, and these reflect movements in the community and enterprise budget from the last report covering the period 1st of January through to the 26th of February, and these reflect the receipt of government grants and the creation of budget to reflect that, and also a realignment of budget within our service, within our fleet service, and how we deliver our service. So if I can refer committee back to paragraph 2, the committee is asked to approve the following recommendations: that the forecast to the 31st of March of an overspend of 8.169 million after the approved transfers to reserves be noted, and that this in the main relates to the community and enterprise pressures associated with its COVID response and will be considered as part of the wider funding for COVID across the council, that an overspend of 7.066 million as at the 26th of February after the approved transfers again is noted, and that proposed budget variants as detailed in Appendix B to F are approved. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Louise. I see Mark's got his hand up for a question. Mark?
Thanks very much, Chair. Thanks for that, Louise. I've got a kind of question based on some information that I only got a few hours ago, so apologies I've not been able to bring it to the resource before today's meeting. Basically, I've been told that there's a rolling programme of kind of gully clearance, and we do about 60,000 gullies as part of that, cleared either annually or biannually. Crews spending about 80% of the time on that programme and the other 20% on the kind of emergency work or urgent work to prevent localised flooding and other issues. As we'd expect, there's major disruption to that over the past year, although I'm told it's only partly due to the pandemic. I'm not sure what the other factors were. I understand that catching up is expected to take most of the current year, and presumably that will have a major budgetary impact on the resource or else on the programme for the year and its timescales. I'm just looking to, I wonder, could councillors, if not today, get an update at some point on that? And could I check as well, is that any budgetary impact of that? Do we know if that's in the £8 million overspend so far, or is that for, you know, money that will be in an overspend next year?
I'll bring Gordon Mackay in there if it's a roads issue rather than a budget issue, although you worked that one well, Mark. Gordon?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor. Yes, there's merit in what the Councillor is describing there. So normally we would have a fleet of 3 gully motors which serve the council area. One of them has been out of action for a considerable period since an accident it was involved in last summer. Also, at the beginning of the last financial year, we had the lockdown situation where we lost about 3 months of gully cleaning capability. So the two factors that are generating the backlog are the loss of a vehicle and that 3-month period where little was done. To address the situation, we have recently procured a 4th gully vehicle on a temporary hire arrangement. So we've moved from the normal 3 gully vehicles to 4. I think it's 6 months we've taken that vehicle for. There will be an additional cost associated with that, and that's being identified as part of the COVID costs for the current year insofar as that's applicable.
Okay, thank you. Mark, are you happy with that? Yeah, we'll just move on.
Sorry, I took a wee delay there as I kind of tried to reactivate my microphone. Yeah, thanks very much for that. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? No, I'll move the report.
I'll second it.
Okay, agree the report?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. Going to agenda item number 4. I'll ask Lorraine to speak to this report. Lorraine.
Thank you, Chair. Agenda item 4 then starts on page 23 of your papers, and it's the normal capital monitoring report that we would provide to committee. So the purpose of the report then is to provide an update on the annual budget and also the level of spend to the 26th of February, which is our accounting period 12. And also this report provides an update on the predicted spend position as we work our way towards the closure of the financial year end. Section 3 of your report gives the background and explains the budget for the year, and the main point to note is that the budget for the resource hasn't changed since we last reported to committee back in February, and the figure for the budget for this year is 37.622 million. Section 5 details the financial implications and the spend to period 12, including the outturn for the year. So section 5.1 notes the total programme for the year is 37.622 million, with spend of 22.143 million achieved to the 26th of February. Section 5.2 notes the outturn against that budget, and that's an outturn of 32.827 million, so it's an underspend of just under £4.8 million. As previously advised, we did show an underspend projected last time round, and as previously advised, the majority of the underspend is in relation to the timing of project spend, where the budget's required next year rather than this current year. Some of that's been impacted on, a lot of it has been impacted on by COVID and the ongoing lockdowns. And the main projects that are affected are detailed in section 5.3 of the report for your information. Section 5.4 details that the underspends in section 5.3 are offset by some additional spend that we've incurred, and that's in relation to the Green Hills Road project and also Cambuslang Station Park and Ride. For both of those projects, there's no funding issue in relation to that, it's a timing issue only. The funding for both projects is readily available and identified, and including some additional grant from SPT for the Park and Ride at Cambuslang. Section 5.5 notes we're working on the final outturn position, and there will likely be a further impact of COVID-19 just in terms of the additional lockdowns that we have experienced over the last few months. The final position for the resource will be reported to the next meeting of this committee in late June, following the report to Executive Committee in the normal way. So in that basis, if I can refer committee back to the recommendations in section 2, and note that the Community and Enterprise Resources budget of 37.622, spend to date of 22.143 as at the end of February, and the outturn for the financial year of 32.827 million be noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. Any questions, comments? Alex?
Chair, just wondering, with the carry forwards and projects extending into another financial year, I'm led to believe that construction costs, materials are getting very expensive, significant increase in prices. Is there any, will that have any impact on these projects going forward, or are they secured under quoted terms?
Yeah, if I can just come into it. In terms of the projects, there'll be a variety of different projects across the piece, so I couldn't possibly comment on any individual one. What I would say is, in terms of any impact of COVID that we anticipated at the start of the lockdown way back almost a year ago, we haven't seen as much coming through in terms of additional costs as we originally anticipated. That said, it's something that will be discussed with the resources as we go through our normal carry forward exercise. So at this point in the financial year, myself and my team are working with the individual resources to see how much money they need into the new financial year to complete those projects. We only have the budget allocation as has been approved by members, so if there's anything that comes up as being an additional cost or additional burden at that point, then we would need to bring that information to members at that point. So I suppose what I'm saying is I don't have anything at this point in terms of that, but it's something we need to keep an eye on, and we will do over the next couple of weeks. Excuse me.
Okay, I see Michael's got his hand up. Michael, you want to shed a wee bit of light on that?
Yeah, I think just to support Lorraine's comments there, the main project, Councillor Allison, that's on our radar in terms of COVID is the Green Hills project, and we've highlighted that to this committee and also the Executive Committee. In terms of contracts, that's the price which has been bid for, and that's what we hold the contractor to. And generally, we haven't seen a huge impact in terms of COVID, in terms of prices as yet. As we move towards hopefully into recovery, we may see the market getting slightly hotter, but just now we're not necessarily seeing that. But I think Lorraine has kind of summarised it pretty well, Chair. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No. I'll move the report.
I'll second it.
Agree the report?
Agreed.
Okay, we go on to agenda item number 5. Elaine is going to speak to this report.
Thank you, Chair. This is a standard workforce monitoring report which is prepared by personnel, and the purpose of the report is to provide committee with an update on the employment information for the period of January and February of this year. Section 4.1 shows the resource absence figure for February this year was 5.9%, and that represents an increase of 0.3 when compared to last month. Comparing that with February of last year, the figure has decreased by 0.7%, and you will note that the February 2021 figure is 1.1% higher than the council-wide figure. Based on the absence figures at February and the annual trends, the projected annual average for the resource for 2021 is 5.2%, which is compared to the council-wide average of 4.3%. Managers and personnel continue to work along with the maximising attendance procedures, and just to make sure that they're supporting employees to remain at work and to return to work after absence. And we continue to make sure that these the appropriate actions and supports are taken. Members will also note that the absence information contained within the report includes absences as a result of COVID. And at the time of the report being produced, the council's absence level was 5.6%, with 1.3 relating to COVID absence, which includes sickness and special leave. An update on that figure, as at last week, the figure was 4.8%, with 0.8% relating to COVID absence, again including any special leave. Section 4.2 of the report details the occupational health referral information, which is found at Appendix 2, and that shows there was 181 occupational health referrals made during the period. This is a decrease of 101 when compared to the same period of last year, and you'll see that the biggest reduction there is coming from physiotherapy referrals. Section 4.3 shows accident and incident information, and you will see that there are 63 accidents and incidents recorded within the resource for this period. But there was a technical issue with the reporting system last year, which has resulted in 20 accidents and incidents from December, and because they haven't been previously recorded in the workforce monitoring information, have been included in this report. Which leaves 43 accidents and incidents for the current reporting period, which was an increase of 13 when compared to the same period last year. Moving on to section 4.4, in terms of employee relations information, you will see that there were 6 disciplinary hearings, 1 grievance hearing and no dignity at work hearings during this period. Section 4.5 shows the analysis of leavers, and there were 13 leavers during the period that were eligible for an exit interview, with 4 being conducted. Section 4.7 shows that 47 employees left employment in that period, and managers have indicated that all posts have been replaced. There are no other employee financial or other implications in the report, and I would refer committee back to section 2 within the report and ask to approve the recommendation to note employment information for January to February 2021. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Elaine. Any questions, comments? No, don't see anyone's hands up.
No hands, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I'll move that report.
I'll second it.
We agree the report?
Agreed.
Okay, we're going to items for decision now. Agenda item number 6. Pauline is going to speak to this report.
Thanks, Chair. Members are aware that we're bringing forward a rolling programme of town centre strategies and action plan for approval. One's for Hamilton and Cambuslang are already up and running, and their action plan are being monitored as live documents. All of the strategies and action plan follow the same format based on a Scottish Government review of town centres, and actions are divided into 6 key themes, which are listed in section 3.1 of your report. Members may recall that on the 25th of November we brought the draft Larkhall strategy to committee and obtained your approval to go out for public consultation. The consultation was delayed partly due to the COVID epidemic, and also we were keen to avoid the Christmas and New Year period. Consequently, the online consultation took place between the 19th and the 31st of March 2021. Section 4 makes you aware that the consultation generated a statistically significant number of submissions, 109, from 622 visits to the consultation online. Following the closure of the online consultation, a stakeholders meeting was held on the 8th of April, leading to the completed strategy, which is appended to this report for your approval. Some details coming out of the consultation are set out in section 4 of your report, with some positives, which include evidence that Larkhall is a very well supported town centre with a high level of local users accessing its town centre businesses and services on foot. And that occupancy levels in Larkhall have remained at 90% despite the pandemic. In terms of some challenges pointed out by members of the public and consultees, is that they feel that some attention could be given to issues around streetscape, parking, pedestrianisation, and also a strong local desire for an event space in the town centre. Next steps, assuming members approve the strategy and action plan today, is that the projects in the action plan will be developed along the timescale set out in it. Working with the key partners, including the Larkhall Community Council and the Larkhall growers. And just as an aside, and tying with our report later on the agenda, you'll note that in section 8.2 of your report, the Larkhall growers have been successful in a bid to the Council's Town Centre Capital Fund for the items listed in 8.2 of your report, including planters, banners along the main street, and a feasibility study to create community space in King Street. Chair would ask members to note the report and agree the recommendations in section 2 to enable your officers to work with partners and proceed with the implementation of the town centre strategy and action plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I see Peter Craig's got his hand up. Peter.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just wanted to congratulate the officers.
You've muted yourself, Peter.
So I just wanted to congratulate the officers involved in this and also the community itself for taking such an active role in the design of the town centre. The initial consultation with the community yielded something like 1,800 responses, and this report is based on that going forward. So it's great to see it. Obviously, we've got a lot of work there to do, but it's a fabulous first step. So thanks very much.
Any other comments or questions?
No hands, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I'll move the report.
I'll second it.
We agree the report?
Agreed.
Agreed.
I want agenda number 7. And Catherine has declared an interest in this one, so we'll just give a wee minute for Catherine to leave the meeting. Elizabeth Ann, can you just confirm Catherine has left?
Chair, I can confirm Councillor McClymont has left.
Okay, thank you. Agenda number 7, that's Pauline again.
Thanks, Chair. As members know, the Economic Development Team administer community benefits from wind farms via the Renewable Energy Fund. Small grants are delegated to officers, but grants award of more than £20,000 come to committee for your approval. This report asks you to agree to award a grant of £85,000 to the Clydesdale Community Initiative from the Blacklaw Wind Farm, which is an intervention rate of 43.5%. The details of the project, which is to facilitate the Langlosh Barn extension, are set out in your report in section 4, alongside the whole funding package. And the Renewable Energy Fund award is conditional on all the other match funding being in place. If approved, the grant will enable the Clydesdale Community Initiative to extend their current tea room and gift shop, enabling them to offer training and employment opportunities to people with disabilities, long-term illness, and people at social disadvantage. Consequently, we're asking committee to agree your recommendations at section 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Pauline. I don't see any hands up. Any questions or comments? No. Okay, I'll move the report.
I'll second it.
Okay, can we agree the report?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay, Elizabeth Ann, can you invite Catherine to rejoin the meeting, please?
I will do, Chair.
Okay, Elizabeth, can you confirm that Catherine's
Yeah.
back in?
Yeah, Councillor McClymont's back in the meeting, Chair.
Okay, thanks. Right. Go on to agenda number 8. Pauline's going to speak to this report.
Thanks, Chair. Councillors, this is your annual report on the Community Benefit Funds administered by the Economic Development Team for the financial year 2021. It gives you details of the Renewable Energy Fund, the Clyde Wind Farm Fund, the Quarry Fund, and this year Renewable Energy Fund COVID emergency grants, which opened in April 2020. And these are detailed in sections 6, and also included are the new microgrant funds which were introduced in the 1920 financial year, and the microgrants were the subject of a detailed report to the last meeting of this committee, as you may recall. In your appendix, members can see the very diverse rates of projects supported by these funds. They're all listed there for you. And section 4.3 of your report shows that a total of 106 projects have been supported, with total grants in excess of 1.3 million to support total project costs of almost 4 million, making a real difference to local groups and communities. Attached as Appendix 2 to your report is a publicity report detailing all the good work that's been done in the financial year, and hopefully promote the fund and hopefully encourage more groups and organisations to come forward for funding in the next financial year. Consequently, members, we are asking you to agree the recommendations in section 2 of your report, to note the grants awarded and agree that we promote our publicity report and launch it forthwith. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Pauline. I see Mark Horsham's got his hand up. Mark, have you got a question or comment?
Thanks very much for that, Chair. I would like to welcome this report. As Pauline says, it is amazing to see the diverse amount of groups, organisations and projects, large and small, that have benefited around South Lanarkshire, especially in the Clydesdale area, where a large number of projects have received support. I want to take this opportunity as well to also thank the many members of the communities, most of who are volunteers, that continue to give their time to help run the clubs and organisations and deliver the projects, especially in these sort of challenging times. So thank you.
I think everyone would agree with that, Mark. The communities have done really well, and it's good to see so many of them being rewarded with small amounts of cash and large amounts of cash. So thank you. No other comments, questions? I'll move the report.
I'll second it.
Can we agree the report?
Agreed.
Okay, go on to agenda item number 9. These are next ones are for noting, and Pauline again is going to speak to this report.
Thanks, Chair. Members will be aware that since the first round of Scottish Government Town Centre Grant Fund first became available in the spring of 2019, and we brought regular reports to this committee detailing the projects supported by that fund, both phase 1 and phase 2, also the Council's own capital programme for town centres and the Scottish Government's Regeneration Capital Grant Fund. And I think members asked for an update to come back to this committee. In section 5 of your report, you get a full red, amber, green of all the projects, and if you look at that, members, you'll see that a total of 10 towns across South Lanarkshire have benefited from town centre projects, namely Lanark, Hamilton, East Kilbride, Cambuslang, Forth, Carnworth, Carluke, Larkhall, Straven and Rutherglen, and a further 3, Bothwell, Stonehouse and Douglas so far, have also benefited from being part of the Town Centre Heritage app, which is listed in your list of projects. It's number 7. The Appendix 1 to your report sets out the financial allocation and funding against each project, and would like members to note progress on the report on the projects. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Pauline. David Watson, you get your hand up for a question or comment?
Yeah, thanks. 3.7 of the report highlights work going on in East Kilbride Civic Centre and the relocation, potential relocation to East Kilbride Town Centre. It rightly states there was a meeting of the East Kilbride Area Committee on the 24th of March. At that meeting, a number of points and comments and what were made by councillors regarding the proposals. And basically, I'm seeking assurance that these points have been taken on board and will be a part and parcel of the work that's been undertaken. And there'll be further reports back to this committee and possibly the East Kilbride Area Committee as the work's been developed, rather than waiting until it's finalised. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. I think I'll let Michael McGlynn come in there. Michael's at the meeting. Michael?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So, yeah, I can absolutely give that assurance to Councillor Watson and indeed all the members that attended East Kilbride Area Committee. So probably 2 points is that officers are continuing to work on the proposals, taking into account all the comments and observations that were made by members at the committee. But the second point is that the ownership of the town centre has changed hands. Our view as officers that we continue with the work, the relocation of the Civic Centre, as we discussed at the Area Committee, and also we're looking to engage with the new owners of the town centre to understand what their ambitions are for the centre and whether that still fits with our plans as with the previous owners. So we're looking to engage at a high level with the banks and their agents, and I think at an operational level, officers are meeting with the town centre's operational aspects relatively soon. So again, we'd like to give an update to members in due course once in that position, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michael.
Chair, can I come back there? Sorry. Yeah, Michael, thanks for that. And you alluded to something that I was going to raise and decided not to, and maybe speak privately about it. But you mentioned the town centre ownership change, and my understanding it is, and you mentioned there, it is to the banks. I don't think, I mean, my impression is the banks will not hold on to this long term, and they're likely to pass it on or sell it on to somebody else. Am I right in considering that? And then again, we're back to square one. We're talking to new owners again. Would that be the case?
Michael?
Chair, so I think it's probably a fair comment because banks aren't in the business of running shopping centres. So logic and experience would suggest that you're correct, Councillor Watson, that they would then look to pass that on. But in the absence of actually engaging and speaking directly with the banks and their agents at a high level, we can only surmise that, and that's why we're very keen to speak with them and also to explain our plans and our support for the town centre. So as soon as we've got clarity in that, we'll keep members informed. Thanks, Chair.
Right, thank you. Joe, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks. And actually what I was going to say has just been preempted by the second part of that exchange. So I really won't ask my question. I would just reiterate the need for probably for the council to be the driving force behind this master plan, even though we don't have the ownership. If the ownership is in flux, then we're going to have some leadership from the council to make sure that whoever ends up owning the centre and whoever the occupiers might turn out to be in future, that they are committed to some form of redevelopment. So I wouldn't expect a response because I think David and Michael dealt with it quite extensively.
I think with Michael at the helm, you've got good leadership there that'll be taking it forward, Joe. I think you can be rest assured on that. We're going to the man himself now. Oh, I'll need to move that report.
I'll second it.
Okay. We agree to note the report.
Agreed.
Okay, we're going to item number 10. Michael, going to speak on this report.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. So, members, the purpose of this report is to provide you with an update on the Lanarkshire Economic Forum. And as you may recall, back in July 2020, the Recovery Board at the time agreed to the establishment of the forum with its purpose to support economic recovery and ensure that action is undertaken in a strategic and coordinated manner. So rolling forward a few months, the forum held its initial meeting on the 21st of September and start to begin to define the scope and remit the partnership. And from that, its terms of reference was agreed in November, and that's attached as Appendix 1 for your information. At 4.2, the purpose of the forum is essentially centred around supporting economic recovery, and that will be based around three themes of people, place and business, and I'll touch upon that in a wee minute or two. And it's also to ensure that there's liaison and coordination and cooperation between all the partners, because there's a lot of economic levers out there, and to make sure that there's a coordinated approach. The forum is chaired by Professor Milan Radosavljevic, and he is the Vice Principal of University of West of Scotland. And as members may recall, I think it's important that partners other than the Council chair this, but we certainly still have a very significant role. You'll see the membership of the forum is set out in paragraph 4.4. Again, quite extensive, shows you the level of economic support within Lanarkshire, generally speaking. But we also have two other memberships coming to the next meeting, and that is NHS Lanarkshire and also our voluntary sector partners. And I think that should really complete all the stakeholders at this point in time. One of the first activities that the forum undertook was a mapping exercise to look at all the activities which has been undertaken by the partners, and really to understand how they're starting to support economic recovery. And this would actually provide a basis to determine whether that support and activity is meeting the needs and demands of the economy. So that initial exercise was completed back in January 2021, and the summary of it is set out in Table 1. The forum has also engaged the services of the Glasgow City Region Intelligence Hub with the purpose of to establish a social economic baseline for Lanarkshire, basically evidential data. And this will highlight the key strengths and weaknesses within the Lanarkshire economy, but it will also help identify the challenges and future priorities, and therefore provide a base of actually continuing with activities we're doing this now, or designing new activities to support local economic recovery. As I mentioned a minute ago, we will be working around three themes of people, place and business. And the reason being is that whilst the main forum provides a mechanism for bringing the partners together at a strategic level, the detailed work will really be done at the subgroups itself. And it is on that basis that we've framed the subgroups around the three thematic areas. And probably just 2 points to highlight in that, Chair. First, the subgroups will be chaired or co-chaired by partners. And that is really to ensure that there's accountability and responsibility across all the partners to ensure that matters are progressed, i.e. it doesn't necessarily always have to rest with the councils. And I think that's important. Bear in mind, we have some national agencies in there, such as Scottish Enterprise and Skills Development Scotland. And the second point is the people theme has been divided into two to look at employability and also recognising skills are related but two separate items, and also the actual depth and breadth of these areas I think merits two groups. And in particular, I think skills is a very important area in our colleges, and our university has an incredibly important role in taking that forward. So Chair, just in summary, 3 points to highlight. As I mentioned before, the forum was established back in September, and as members and everyone will be aware, our economy had effectively closed during lockdown. Council officers have been focused quite rightly on delivering business support grants, but that's had to take priority over mainstream economic activities. At the same time, our partners such as the colleges and the Scottish Enterprise and SDS, indeed the private sector interests, had their own operational challenges as well. So I would have to say that the progress on the forum has been understandably impacted on that. Having said all of that, the structure is now falling into place. Initial partnerships are starting to develop through initial meetings of the forum, and I think this provides a sound basis to develop and implement interventions to support the recovery and growth within the Lanarkshire economy. And just lastly, I do recognise that the LEF in effect replicates the previous Sustainability Economic Growth Board. And at this point in time, it's been suggested that the Growth Board meetings can be put on hold. However, it's still important as a council officer that we keep the Community Planning Partnership Board up to date and also members of this committee. And Chair, has proposed that we provide regular updates to both the board and the committee as appropriate. So hopefully find that update helpful, Chair, and we just ask members to note the contents of the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I see Margaret's got her hand up for a question or a comment.
Thanks very much, Chair. Yeah, it's just a comment. Thanks for the report, Michael. I think it's a really comprehensive report. I think the work looks really exciting moving forward, and hopefully when we're moving out of all the misery of the past 2 years, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities to take forward. But also, just a quick question, there's obviously going to be a lot of work done within each of the separate subgroups, and a lot of it will cross across all our areas and the work that's going on in different areas around economic development. Thinking my own area, there's tons of stuff going on around the streetscaping, the building of the social housing, the business input. So it's just to say, will there be, obviously at some point, not right away, but some sort of matrix or implementation plan and a resource envelope to identify where all the various bits of finance and money's coming from, that will eventually kind of come to the Community and Enterprise Committee for comment by elected members, because I'm aware of the decision that was taken that no elected members would be on the forum. So it's just to ask that if there will be a sort of implementation matrix coming out at some point. Thank you.
Michael?
The short answer to that is yes, to keep members informed. The initial table, and I do appreciate it's a gross simplification of all the work that all the partners are undertaking in table 1 just below 5.2. And I think that the purpose of that was to understand all the intervention activities that's going on. But my own view is that once we recognise what the economic baseline is, that will identify where we need to intervene. And you maybe refer to it as a matrix, but it's essentially a work programme for the group. And particularly when you look at skills and employability, there's a lot of people in that market, if I can put it that way, Councillor Cooper, so is to make sure that's coordinated.
I'm Councillor Walker.
Sorry, Councillor Walker, beg your pardon, as a schoolboy error. The point is that we're very keen to get the private sector involved in it, and they'll understand what the skills are going forward. And I think that in due course, and that probably in our next quarter, we'll understand what the future interventions will be. So essentially a work programme to be developed. Councillor Walker, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Thank you.
Alex?
Just in case you get it wrong, it's Councillor Allison, Michael. I really hope the outcomes from this are as positive as your report. There's a couple of issues. You said that all the stakeholders would now be involved with the inclusion of NHS Lanarkshire and voluntary action, basically VASLAN. Yet elected members aren't part of that, and I think that is a major mistake, and it's disappointing that North Lanarkshire Council would not agree to elected members being represented in that body. The other group of people that I'm not certain have got a significant enough representation in that list are rural businesses and the rural economy. All the organisations you've won that are basically based in the north, in the urban, not in North Lanarkshire, but in the more urban areas. And I would like to have seen organisations within that could give a rural perspective on the development within Lanarkshire, as it is a significant part of South Lanarkshire and certainly all of Clydesdale. Has any organisations been considered to represent the local economies?
Michael?
So thank you, Councillor Allison. When we approached, one of our challenges is always to identify an appropriate umbrella organisation for the private sector. So we've reached out to the Chamber and we've reached out to the Federation of Small Businesses, And we have a meeting of the forum a week today, and I can raise that point specifically if they feel that there's a gap within that, Councillor Alison. So we can raise that question, but at this moment in time, I'm not getting that feedback, but that's perhaps maybe I haven't asked the question the way that you've framed it. So we'll raise that next Tuesday, and I will give you a feedback after that. However, if you feel that there's a umbrella organisation out there that could contribute to it, please let me know, because sometimes we do find it a bit of a challenge to identify such organisation, which is understandable because businesses are so busy running their business, and they may not have time to do that. So I'm happy to raise that next Tuesday, and I'll feed back to you, Councillor Alison. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we agree to note that report and also agree to note agenda item number 11 at the same time?
Agreed.
Agreed. Okay, thank you. I have no urgent business. I would ask Elizabeth Ann to stop the recording. But before we go, we'd just like to say a few words to Gordon Mackay, as this is his last meeting of the Community and Enterprise. So I think Gordon has been working in local government for 36 years, the past 25 of these with South Lanarkshire Council as the head of the Roads and Transportation Services. And I know Gordon could look back in his time with the SLC and look at the achievements that he's achieved and a job well done. And I'd like to, on behalf of the committee and our group, thank him for all his hard work and commitment over the past 25 years. I really would like to wish him a wonderful retirement. I hope he enjoys this new chapter of his life. I hope it's filled with good health, relaxation and fun. And I know we have more time now for sleeping in, fishing, which I know he does a lot of, and a bit of reading. I'm not sure if he's a golfer, but I know a lot of folk who do retire end up playing on the golf course. And I'm sure there'll be quite a few people here today who'd like to trade places with him. At the end, I'd just like to say, I'm hoping that you find the same commitments and achievements in whatever adventure you plan next. So I'd like to just thank you on behalf of the group and the committee. So thank you very much, Gordon.
Okay, thank you, John. It's been a privilege working for South Lanarkshire Council for, as you say, 25 years. You've done your homework well and got all these numbers quite right. I think one of the things that makes South Lanarkshire a strong council is the good relationship between elected members and officers, and that's certainly something I've enjoyed. So in that regard, I'd like to thank you all for the personal support you've offered me over a good number of years, and wish you all the best for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. Okay. Jerry Convery is going to say a few words.
Chair, just briefly, on behalf of the Labour group, I've worked with Gordon for the 25 years, and I wish him all the best, and so does the group, and so does the full council. And thanks for your time, and thanks for what you've done for us.
Okay, thanks Jerry. Anyone else? No more hands up. Okay, I'd just like to draw the meeting to a close then. Thank you all for your attendance and stay safe.